I'm gonna bring you over here. Yeah, you go there, and then over here, I go home. Setting up your webinar Facebook Live, redirecting to Facebook Live page. All right, we're almost there, people. And then I close you, Facebook, for the benefit of everyone. Close that. Great, get out of here. And then, yeah, there it is, live. And then I click this just now. Oh, there we go. It's happening. Oh, and then I got to mute this. There we go. Hey, Karen. Hey, Ben. Ooh, Ben's joined the live and is also in the live. So this is us breaking the time barrier. We're actually creating something quite unique here. I'm going to hide. I've got this giant picture of Ben smiling at me, and it's weird. So how do I do that? I guess I can't. Okay, well, whatever. I'll just live with it. It's not showing up in the Facebook Live. Happy Friday, everyone. Good morning. We're going to start the way we always start, which is by pouring tea into a mug. I don't know if you can hear that. I've got a noise canceling headphone right here. So it's possible that it might cancel out. I don't know if there's some way to selectively, I mean, what could I do? I could go and download the audio codec that they use for this and then probably like hack that. Probably have to pull out like some books on C or C# or something like that and hack it so that then the audio codec allowed the sound of tea to come through the mic. Okay, I guess I could do that. Anyhow, this is just projects. I'm just brainstorming possible projects. We'll add that to the list. This, by the way, if this is annoying to listen to, this part, this is what it's like always in my head, just constantly. I'm filtering this for your benefit, but then there's times when it just comes out. I open my mouth and words shoot out, and then you have to listen to them. This is usually the point where all the viewers stop watching too. Okay, well, let's drink this sip of tea together. What do we have today? We've got a tea bag in the garbage. I think this is Paris at night. This smells good. Ooh, there. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there might be some honeybush, and that has the essence of honeybush. I hope you guys have had an amazing week. My week has been it's been interesting. One of the things I woke up. So we got back from Mexico last Wednesday evening. I met Thursday, Friday, and then this week. So this has kind of been a bit of the week where I transition back into my routine. Usually when I go away, I don't worry too much about my routine. I get back home, I start to get up earlier and earlier and earlier. So usually there's a couple of days where I get up at 6 and then finally back to 5:30. I slowly work my way back into going to the gym. However, this week I had to book my car in for maintenance, and I also got a new tattoo, which you can't really see. It's on my thumb there. It's a kind of like a winter scape with a tree, and then there's a moon, which I'll share about. The reason one of the things I really like is just the aesthetics of the tree being created out of negative space. I really appreciate the depth of winter and of fall. Fall, autumn is where that's when Bay and I first met. So in a lot of ways, the life I currently get to live began in this kind of setting. And so there's a lot of meaning behind that. And I also really like the aesthetics. And I like a tattoo that's visible regardless of what I'm wearing, that kind of peeks out on the hands. Anyhow, so all of that being said, what that means is that it's been a little slower for me to get into my routine, slower to go to the gym. It's a bad idea to go and work out when you've got an open wound. I don't know if they've taught you that, but that's a thing to know. Don't go work out and lift weights where a lot of other people are sweating when you have a large open wound. So that's one thing that's been in my space, is a little bit of the transition is not going as fast as I feel it should. And then alongside that, this week I've noticed some fear in my space. And that's often pretty common coming back from time away. And anytime Bay and I travel, be it for work or vacation or anything like that, coming back is always, it drives up a bit of my anxiety. And the reason for that is that, well, at least the reason I think is that part of how I learned to be safe in the world, part of how I learned to know I was safe was through control. If I've got my hands on all the levers and dials, if I know all the variables, then I can ensure I'm not caught off guard. And then the theory in the back of my lizardy brain is like, then I can breathe. As long as I'm not caught off guard, as long as I know I'm not going to be blindsided, then I can take a breath. Great strategy when you're doing things like driving like I guarantee you, I've got my eye on most of the road in a way a lot of people don't, because that's how I tend to look at the world. Not such a great strategy when you want to do something like take a month off, because that's a month of taking your hands off the dials and really relaxing. And the way I used to do that was I'd take the month off, but keep all my hands on the dials, which did not really lead to much of a relaxing vacation. It wasn't a very empowered experience of being on vacation. And so these days I've really, I've taken that on in my life, and really I practice letting go and trusting that things will work out, or more importantly, that even if things don't work out, that I will be able to be with whatever is showing up. Much more powerful experience of trust is available from that context. That being said, it's still scary. When I come back, all of that old training, all of that old fear is like, hey, buddy, you didn't keep your hands on the stuff. So that's been in my space. And like the conversation that I'm just going to read, what is some of the stuff I've been clearing in the morning? Every morning I sit down and I get clear on like, what's the story going on in my head? So a friend of mine feels like a dingus. That was one of the things I was clearing. A client of mine's project feels a little wacky. I'm not sure what to say to this person I have to talk to. I haven't posted a lot lately, therefore I'm irrelevant. We don't have clear business coming in, and the meaning that I ascribe to that is therefore I'm going to fail, or I won't make it out alive. I'm going to fall to pieces. My business is going to fall apart. Morning, Allison. Morning, Heather. And so that's just a lot of the background that's going on. And that's happening back here. What's happening in the foreground is I'm really committed to not acting from those fears, letting them exist. I don't have to shut them down, but also not letting them dictate the way I act and what I'm committed to being in the world. And what I'm committed to being in the world is these days a clearing for spirit and humility and humanity to show up, a space in which something greater than any one of us can come into being, can actually be present for us. And that means letting go of my small-minded fears. And so as I do that, the counter to my fear, what I kind of notice is happening around me is there's a lot of conversations I'm in with a lot of people. There's people that are saying, hey, can we work together? How can we figure that out? Can we make that work? Your prices are too high, but I really want to play with you. Is there some way to have that happen? I had one person reach out to say, hey, I'm piloting this program for the Bill and Melinda Gates, one of their companies, and I'd really like you to be a part of that. And I want to see if there's a way for us to make that happen. And so it's good for me to notice it. I'm sharing this much more for me than anyone watching right now. It's like a reminder. I can't say this stuff out loud enough because it's important for me to notice how different the fears and thoughts that I come back to work, to this part of life with, how different they are from reality as it's showing up in the clearing that I'm creating. And I think that's tough for all of us. We often don't get the experience of the impact we have in the world, for better and for worse. And that's part of the tragedy of being a human. The other part of the tragedy, I just spilled ink on my pants. That's another part of the tragedy of being a human, is that sometimes you're live on a video and you spill ink on your pants like a big boner. True story. Okay. There's one other thing I'm going to share, and then we're going to bring on special celebrity guest star. This guy is real special celebrity guest star, Ben Clarke. That one of the, I don't believe I shared this last week, and I apologize if I did. One of the things that I got clear on lately is people will from time to time ask me how they can support me, especially because I'm in conversation with a lot of people that are coaches or that like the idea of coaching. And part of coaching is like, hey, serve people, go and be of service to the world. And so people come to me and they ask, how can I support you? How can I serve you? Or I meet someone and we get into conversation and I ask how I can support them and they have a great answer. They ask how I can be supported. And I'm like, I don't know, let's talk more about your broken, crappy life in not so many words. And so there's two things from that. The first is I'm committed to not that. What I'm committed to is that, one, letting people support you is an act of generosity. And two, I'm very clear that there's an edge, there's a gift for me. There's a breakthrough available for me and not having to do it all alone. And that means being willing to let people support me, being a clearing in which people can support me. And if I want to be supported, I have to, one, allow that. And two, I have to at times be able to articulate, hey, here's how you can support me. And so one of the things I've noticed and being committed to letting people support me is I get asked that question in the moment and I'm flustered and I don't have a good answer. And of course, I wouldn't have a good answer because that's not my default. My default answer, my default place to come from is, you can't support me. I got it all handled. I'm good. But what about you? I can help you. And so in service of breaking that up, I sat down and I wrote, here's all the ways I would love for people to support me. And then I've put that on my webpage, or we're in the process of putting that on my webpage. We have to get some sexy photos to go along with it. But ultimately, that's going to be a living page on my website so that I can direct people there. And I can say like, hey, I would love support. Like, I'm really open to it. Here are the ways that would really help me out if you're really committed to supporting me. That's been really cool. And the reason I'm sharing that is that I want to invite everyone to be in this practice. Like, if you are like me, if you are someone who often doesn't know how you can be supported or isn't sure, create this list. Give people this as a gift. Give them the opportunity to support you, because it really makes a difference for people when we are given the space in which we can support them. Awesome. Okay, enough of that. We're going to bring Ben on shortly. Not just yet, Ben. He's like hovering over that turn camera on. Let me say stuff. Adam's blathering on. I'm going to have a sip of tea first. Ben and I met originally because I can't even remember how we connected. It might have been through Rich Lippman. He'll come on and say, actually, Ben, let's get you on right now so that there's less pressure on me. And then I'll talk about you, which will put more pressure on you. We'll just wait for it. There we go. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
How was that for you? Just sitting there listening to me just yammer away.
I was curious about, it's just like a boner.
Don't be curious about that. Step right past that. So how did we, I know the first time we kind of talked face to face was when Nathan and I were enrolling for Machu Picchu, but how did you and I initially get connected?
I stalked you for a couple of years. I was a voracious consumer, and Spectrums of Being made a huge impact on me. You posted that once, like the whole thing, the infographic, and I loved it. I love that kind of stuff, and so we connected over that.
Cool.
I stalked you for ages.
That's amazing. Do you remember how you even found me on the internet? Do you remember the conduit that led?
Probably the Prosperous Coach Facebook group that is now dead.
Cool. It's so great. Thank you for sharing that. And it really, it's such a good reminder for me, because I'm noticing so many more people, we impact so many more people than any particular metric will show us. And Facebook likes are such an easy metric for me to get stuck on. And they're I don't know if you ever liked any of my stuff or not, but I know I at least wasn't present to that. And so thanks for sharing that as a real gift. I'm turning that into a book right now, The Spectrums of Being. It's slow and it's taking time, but I appreciate that's good. It's like a nice vote of confidence for me. Thank you. Okay, cool. Well, we should talk more about you and way less about me, I think, at this point. Does that feel great and exciting for you?
Should I introduce my teapot? Is that?
Oh yeah. Let's bring our teapots on to you were scaring me. You were like, oh, I might be contrarian and bring coffee. What is the story with this teapot that you've got?
Well, this is a China teapot. I thought it made sense to bring tea, as I'm English, and I may be the first English guest that you've had on Tea Time.
I think so.
And I thought it would be entirely appropriate to show you how to really drink tea.
Oh, you've changed your now Ben has changed. Oh, is this milk? You're putting milk in the tea?
Yeah. This
nice.
The jug.
Yeah. We can't see. Well, okay. I don't know. Is there actually, guys? What do you think? Is there actually milk coming out in this moment?
Nice
I have no idea. I can't see anything yet. And then a ridiculous little handle that is impossible to hold. Yeah.
And then pinky out.
Yeah. It takes about 5 minutes to get the hand all sorted out. That looks very relaxed, by the way. that sort of level of contortion, does that add to the enjoy? I really wanted Ben to spray tea over his camera. It
encapsulates being English, the word contortion.
Well said. Okay, cool. I'm going to do gallery view because then I think we get to have both of us as opposed to just like the speaker. And I'll put you right there. Okay. Cool. Well, welcome, Ben. Awesome to have you here. That's how Ben and I first met. We talked together about you coming to Machu Picchu, but the timing wasn't quite right. And then after that, you reached out and were like, hey, how can we partner together? What is available? And that led to you being in the Forge with us this year.
That's right.
And you are coming to Costa Rica with us, right?
I am.
Wow, that's super cool. So Ben is one of 8 people that Ben and I are committed to having come with us on this retreat that is part of the Forge to spend 3 days in the jungles of Costa Rica. And well, you guys will hear more about that later, but for now it's all top secret and very awesome. Okay, enough preface. Let's get into the good stuff. So what are we talking about today, Ben?
I'm at a crossroads. And I think it may be coming in the next couple of days about whether I commit to staying at the company that I work for or decide to leave.
Got it. Okay. And so at a crossroads, at a company, and are kind of like, I'm going to have to commit to stay, or am I going to commit to leave? One way there's kind of like a choice or a decision or whatever in front of you.
Correct.
Got it. Anything more you want to say to provide context for that?
The choice to stay is a choice to grow. Be present uncomfortable situations with people who are not like me, and learn and grow and see it as a real opportunity. The choice to leave crystallized for me this morning when I realized just how different we were, and how I feel at the moment, these are not my people. I feel like I don't fit. And so talking to some friends this morning, the choice to leave became very clear and very exciting and feels like something I wanted to do immediately. Okay.
Got it. So are we there? Is it resolved?
Yeah, thank you. This was good chat.
Great. Let's go to the debrief. So what do you want to leave? Like if we were going to have a conversation that would make a difference, that would move the needle for you, what would you like to leave here with?
A real sense of clarity, that the option that I don't choose isn't me giving up on something, whether that's my self-growth that I give up on by leaving, or whether that's my fulfillment that I give up on by staying. You see what I mean? Either choice leaves good things behind. And so by the end of the session, I would love to get clear on what to do and why I'm doing it. What to do and why I'm doing it. Okay. Okay, got it. So basically arrive at like a conclusion, a decision, again, very relaxed looking. Your ring finger's a little too high, but that's fine. What to do and why I'm doing it. I got that right? Yes. Okay. So where are you at as far as getting to that point currently is concerned? I want to leave. I'm ready to pull the cord, and my caution is that I'm a quitter. I'm giving up too soon. This is what I always do when the going gets tough. How long have you been here for? 6 months. Got it. Okay. So not too long. No. It's fairly like, I don't actually, maybe I should check that out. Like, is that, I hear you saying, like, oh, this is what I always do. I quit, I leave. So I imagine that there's sort of like a length of time you have in mind, which is kind of like the leaving point. Like, is this a long amount of time you've been here, or is this consistent with the pattern, or is this short? Yeah, good clarification. My intention when I sign up is always to commit for 10 years. My last 6 jobs have been for anything between 1 and 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
But 6 months is a new record, you're right.
Got it. Okay.
It reminds me of one of my very early dates when I was very young, which my relationship lasted for 4 days until I brought a Valentine's card expressing undying love to school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. We're done.
She didn't want that.
No.
What grade was this?
Probably grade 10, grade 11, maybe.
Weird. I don't understand. Okay. So we're at the 6-month mark. You've got stuff showing up. You've talked to some friends. They've kind of like confirmed or affirmed where you find yourself and how you feel about this. And I'm hearing you say you want to leave, but your fear is that you're giving up too soon. You want to leave and you're ready to leave, but the fear is I'm giving up too soon. This is too early, blah, 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 blah. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what do you want to do with that?
I want to figure out how true it is.
How true it is.
I want to figure out, is this really me, or is this just a kind of reflex?
And if you figured that out, then what would that allow?
A lot more confidence in my decision. Yeah,
I'm just making notes as we go. Okay.
The confidence thing is a big word for me.
Uh-huh.
How do I know if it's the right decision?
So tell me more about that. It being a big thing.
Yeah, it feels like I know that I have this need to get things right.
Mm-hmm.
I know that about me and how I operate.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to not be wrong. I know that about me.
Okay.
So confidence is a nice thing to have that means I'm not wrong.
Got it. So it sounds like really what you're hoping for is like to get clear on the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And, or if not that, then it's settling for getting clear on the wrong decision, because then you can not choose that one. The other one, by virtue of any binary choice, is right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a wrong. Okay. Well, okay. So let's explore that a little bit. And for everyone watching, like the place most of us would lean towards, and my hunch, Ben, is your friends probably got into this with you, is like, all right, well, there's a decision Ben wants to make, so let's figure out how to make that the right decision. And then, yay, now I have the right decision, and I don't have to, like, if only life was a series of figuring out the right decision and then taking it, we'd arrive somewhere, I guess, the right place, which is in a hole in the ground and they throw dirt on your face. But like, it's also not always the way life works. And so what I'm doing with Ben is getting clear, like, what is this really about? It doesn't really occur like, oh, if we just created confidence, then everything would be easy. It occurs like there's something deeper here. So that's what we're looking at. So tell me, Ben, well, did you hear anything before I go further in what I just shared?
Yes,
what did you hear for yourself?
I heard the enrolling, which is a big one for me at the moment, about people complying, about people thinking what it is that I need to hear and reinforcing it for me.
Nice. So tell me, like, how would we know this was the right decision? Like, explain right to me, please, so I can then apply it in my own life.
Right decisions. That's a big question. Right decisions they feel right in the heart and the head and the gut. They generally minimize bad stuff.
Minimize bad stuff.
The cost is worth more than the benefit is worth more than the cost. It's a step forward. The right decision is a step forward.
Okay. Anything else?
A right decision doesn't always make sense to other people. A right decision is one that I don't look back on and think, I wish I hadn't done that.
Oh, it's just like no regret?
No regret, yeah. A right decision ultimately leaves me feeling better.
Like immediately? Long term? Always better? Sometimes better?
Instantly better and medium term better. After a few weeks, it still feels better.
Okay. So short and medium. What about long? You left that one out, I noticed.
I think long term, decisions get less and less important.
Okay, got it.
Like by the time people are shoveling dirt on my face, will I remember this? Perhaps not.
Right, unless you're animated by a lich and become undead. I don't even know how that works. I'm not sure what our memories, what role they play in, like the zombies remember. Anyhow, that's a different conversation. Unless it's helpful for us to spend an hour digressing on that right now. I can't imagine it would be. Okay, so go ahead.
That's not what I'm paying you all this money for.
Okay, so right decisions feel, I think you said they feel right in your head, gut, and heart. They minimize bad stuff. The benefit is greater than the cost. They are a step forward. You have no regrets. And you feel better in the short to medium term.
Yep.
Okay. And tell me about like wrong decisions.
I think they might feel right at the time, but after hours or days or weeks, they start feeling worse.
Okay.
The cost starts to outweigh the benefit. There's a lot of regret in a wrong decision.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then the opposite of all that other stuff.
Right, but I'm going to make you actually expend the effort here to tell me, because I assert that there's something to us actually getting really clear on like how you've set this up in your work.
Yeah. So wrong decisions don't feel right in, I don't know if it's all of head, heart, and gut, but at least in one of them, something doesn't feel right.
Okay.
Wrong decisions. That's all I've got.
Okay. Okay, so wrong decisions feel right in the short term, much like right decisions, but then they feel worse over time.
Yeah.
Okay. The cost outweighs the benefits rather than the benefits outweighing the cost. Lots of regret.
Yes.
Something not right in the head, heart, or gut.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm curious, has this criteria helped you in like your choices in the past?
Yes, I think it has. Maybe not as explicitly as I've laid out there, but I have been through phases of making spreadsheets about decisions. I have been through phases of making decisions by flipping a coin, living with that result for 24 hours, and then seeing how it feels. If it's the right decision, I know.
So that's examples of it having of you, like I heard you've made spreadsheets and you've flipped coins to make decisions.
Yeah.
Has that helped you get any closer to the right decision?
Yeah, I think all of those have.
Okay. And I'm curious, like, well, I want to share what I notice about this is it sounds kind of like there's a lot of significance about the choice in the moment. And if you didn't make the right choice, then you're screwed. Like if you made the wrong choice, then first of all, it's pretty hard to tell in the moment because you feel right having made the choice either way.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of regret. Got it.
And then it's too late to change.
So is that how it goes in your life? Like you make a decision, you're like, I hope I made the right one. And then you discover after the fact, like, oh, I made the wrong one. And then you just are like living under the regret of it.
I don't know if I make too many wrong decisions. And I wonder if I'm realizing that there are no wrong decisions. And I kind of know that I should think that way, but I still don't want to make a wrong one.
Yeah, like it really feels like there's a lot of significance around. Like it feels friggin' heavy, and like you need to like have chains that you pull, and like there's. Are you familiar with like a Rube Goldberg machine?
No, but yes, I know what you mean by chains.
Yeah, did you ever play Mousetrap as a kid?
No.
No, because you played weird British board games by like Cadbury's or something like that. Mousetrap was this game where you like would build all of this stuff up until eventually you like wound the crank and it moved the ball and it hit a platform that made the man jump into the bathtub, which scared the bird, and the bird moved the toast into the toaster. And eventually all of this stuff happens. And finally, like just a little cage goes blap onto the mouse. That's called a Rube Goldberg machine. It does a ton of stuff for like a very insignificant result. It sounds kind of like there's like all of this scaffolding and contraption around a decision that comes as a result of you really not wanting to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, and I think, although it might sound unnecessary, I think the story I've made up is that because this decision is the latest decision in my life, is current, is fresh, that it carries the chains are all the previous decisions, right? And so, like I said at the beginning, there's a way this turns out where I beat myself up for the next 10 years that I can't work with people. I always run away when it gets tough. And because I'm halfway at least through my life, there's all these other examples that on a bad day I can play as bad decisions. I can question whether they were right, and I can question, if I'm doomed to wander alone.
Got it. Okay, so you're just on Zoom with me right now, right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing comments or anything like that?
No.
Great. So then everyone watching, while Ben and I are working through this, like share what you see in the comments if you're willing. Like, hey, I noticed this, or there's a context at play and I think it's this one, or whatever you see, just so that we can all be kind of like gaining benefit and growing from this. And Ben, you're not allowed to go load up Facebook now to read those comments like, oh, it's obviously this thing, because that's what I would do. Okay, so it sounds like, it really sounds like what I'm hearing you describe is that where you are right now is working hard not to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, thank you.
Got it. Is that a common theme in your life? Did you hear me? Are you looking?
I did. You asked.
Awesome.
You asked big.
Thank you.
You asked big questions. Yeah, I'd say that was true.
Okay.
I'd say it was systematically true.
Do you have some examples, like of where you've been really like, okay, I can't make the wrong decision here. I really got to make sure I don't make the wrong decision.
Well, analyzing, like spreadsheets to make decisions, people have laughed at in the past.
Yeah, so that's like what you've learned to do to avoid making the wrong decision?
To avoid being wrong, yeah.
Yeah, so, but do you have decisions like that you can think of where you're like, yeah, right there, I was really going out of my way to not make the wrong decision?
It feels true, but I can't find an example. My memory is short.
Well, when was the last time it sounds like you've got a lot of access to like the way the analysis looks. So when was the last time you were in this like deep analysis? Like, okay, well, pros, cons, flip coin, sit with that, throw bones, do augury, whatever it is. Like, when was the last time you were kind of in this analysis paralysis, so to speak?
Probably a year, 2 years ago.
Okay. Further back than I would have thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember writing out reasons to stay and reasons to leave.
And what was if you're willing, what was the content?
It was around a previous job where I was feeling some misalignment.
Okay, got it. Where do you think like this all came from? You know, like I noticed that children often don't really have much of a like, oh my God, I got to make sure I don't make the wrong decision. We train them pretty good in that. But like I noticed for you, it's especially prevalent. Like there's a real significance to the cost of making the wrong decision. So is there some point you can remember where you learned like, shit, if I make the wrong decision, stuff gets really bad?
I've got a lot. I've looked into it because I've been aware of it recently for a couple of years, and I relate to the Enneagram way of looking at people, and the description of my Enneagram type speaks that. So, where did that come from? I don't know, but I was brought up with a clear sense of right and wrong. And there's a lot to be thankful about that.
What was the last decision you made that was the wrong one, that you were really clear on it? Like, so you're doing great. I just want to be clear on that. And you're speaking very conceptually, what we would call up in the stands of your life, looking down on it like, oh, analysis. And I'm going to invite you to like get on the court of your life, to actually like be in your life, speaking about your life.
And I find it difficult to find a wrong decision. Really wrong. I mean, there are small decisions that I make every day that are wrong, that I regret as soon as I've done it. Things that I say, things that I don't say, the ways I show up for people, I regret instantly. Wrong decisions. And I don't know that there's any thought that goes into that at all. It's the thinking decisions that are bigger decisions. And I don't think I've got examples of wrong decisions.
Yeah.
I always think about what if I hadn't done that? What if I hadn't done that? But I don't know that I would call any of them wrong.
Yeah. So there's two things I notice about that are really interesting. One is like, that would make sense given how much energy you put into what sounds like not making the wrong decision. We would expect that we wouldn't see you making a lot of wrong decisions.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Okay, great. Right? Like, put a lot of energy into not doing something, predictably, it's going to be hard to find ourselves in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing I notice is that it sounds like you, where you're at these days, is making a series of decisions you kind of like immediately judge as wrong. Like there's a lot of smaller regret, but like not big regret. You've kind of chunked it down into like little small pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Colin says, hey, and it's great to see us partnering together. Hello, Colin. Thank you.
Hello, Colin.
Heather's got some great comments that we'll address later on. Thank you, Heather. What are you getting from this so far, Ben? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing that I'm actually quite good at not making wrong decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing that there might not actually be such a thing as a wrong decision. I'm seeing it feels like you think I think too hard about this stuff, and that's okay. I think the feeling I have in my chest is just because, and it's big and heavy, is because this is the latest decision. It's one that I can so easily spin into self-hate and look, there you go again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what I'm scared of.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I get that. Like, I'm present to a lot of fear around this decision. You even started by saying, like, I can't remember exactly what your wording was, but like that it was scary.
Yeah, and I find it difficult to find the words, but it's not that this particular decision is scary. It's just the way feed myself hate.
Got it. You said it feels like I think you think too much. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear how I'm holding this? Would that be helpful?
Please. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm happy for you to feel that way if it serves you. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
I don't know what a too much thinking is. I can tell you whatever the amount I currently do in my own life is probably too much. So like I can relate that, like, oh boy, I think a lot. I don't know what the level of thinking is for you, or I don't even have it that there's a correct amount for you to think about this. But what I do notice is it feels like there's a lot of, it feels like a lot of analysis. Like it doesn't feel like this is something that sets you free. It feels like it chains you, to use the words that you kind of like that resonated for you. Like it feels like it really pulls you down. Not like that's right or wrong, or there's a correct amount of thinking, but whatever's currently happening for you, the experience I'm left with is like, ooh, it feels heavy for Ben.
And I think, yeah, and that's all real. And what I don't know if this is horribly inconsistent or just something that's changing, but it felt really free this morning when I decided to leave, when I was aware of the decision to leave. And the analysis and processing of it to make sure that it isn't wrong feels heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's overthinking things, but
yeah. So a couple things I notice. One is just that there is like this, right? Like we've been talking around it a little bit. Like, do you get that this list we've created for the right decision and the wrong decision is entirely arbitrary? By which I mean you've created it.
No, I don't. I think it's true for I think it's true for everybody.
Let me explain what I mean. So if I took this list that I've written here and I went to say Heather and I said, Heather, Ben's got this great list. We're going to be able to determine right and wrong decisions for him. He's going to feel, and it's going to feel good sort of in the short term and the medium term, but then also in the medium term, bad if it's the wrong decision. And he's minimizing bad stuff and the benefit outweighs the cost. Like, what I really mean is, do you get Heather would have no way of determining what the right and wrong decision for you is based on this list?
Because it's mostly feeling.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm going even one step further, but I like where you're at and saying it's mostly arbitrary. It's like something you've created. There's no place out there in the world that we could reference to be like, okay, objectively, how do we know this is the right decision? It's a lot of like feeling, and I'm really asserting here it's made up. Not that it's not there for you. Like, I trust that it feels bad in your stomach and that there's like a deep sense of regret, but like that's attached to some label that we could put on a decision and be like, right decision, therefore, wrong decision, therefore.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true.
Just kind of like a lens through which you look at the world. Right, wrong, right, wrong. How is this coaching conversation, by the way, right now? Are we in the right version of this coaching conversation, or are we in the wrong version of the coaching conversation?
We're right where we needed to be. I heard myself saying true.
Okay, great.
And right, and yeah. But I find it, my experience of it is I find it easy to get lost in my head.
And is that right or wrong?
Well, it's funny because my kind of instinct this morning was this is a gut decision.
Hold on, I'm being annoying with you intentionally. Is the fact that you're getting lost in your head in this conversation right or wrong?
Wrong.
Great. Thanks for not thinking about that too much. How in this moment, in this coaching conversation as client, is the way you're showing up right or wrong?
Right.
Yay. So notice we can just keep putting this in front of you, and there's a right and there's a wrong. Everything gets filtered through this, right?
Yep.
And what is the best things get inside this model?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't get right, then what's the booby prize? Like okay, I can't figure out what's right, then what is the correct thing to do?
Analyze.
So as to
delay or avoid. Yeah.
And eventually, like, so I'm going to assert here, like the second best, if you can't figure out what is right, then figure out how to not be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what I noted, making sense?
Yeah, it is.
So for everyone watching, and Heather, I love this, you're sort of pointing to this in your comments. And everyone else who's not commenting, I trust you're writing down on your own pad, taking notes. I'm going to send these all to Adam so that he knows that I love him. It's funny to me. That everything in Ben's world gets filtered through right and wrong. And so, of course, the place Ben came to our coaching conversation from is like, help me make the right decision. And then we could get into that conversation and be like, okay, what would the wrong decision be? What would the right decision be? And he'll make the decision, but at best, it's right. it's still a limited perspective, because inside the world of right, wrong, half of your decisions, you have to throw them out, or however many are wrong, whatever the percentage is. Do you get that, Ben? Like fundamentally, there is a limitation in this approach. It limits you to a series of decisions that get labeled right based on some arbitrary measure.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, great. And to your credit, you're pretty fucking good at not making the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what I notice is that the conversation we're in is kind of like about avoiding the breakdown rather than whatever the breakthrough available for you here is. Avoiding the breakdown is like, oh crap, I made a decision and then I have regret, or I made a decision and da 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 da. It means something, there's some significance, it's wrong, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think avoiding regret is a good driver for my decisions. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So let's just tell me a little bit about that regret, because that's a word that's kind of come up, and when I think of those chains, like regret feels somehow like connected to them. So tell me, what is regret for you? What's its role in your life? How does it show up? What's your relationship with it?
The first example is my biggest example, and it's about when I met my present wife. The feeling of regret came up as I didn't want to go through life not knowing what it was like to be with her, not knowing what it was like to do life with her. I didn't want that in life, and so that led to my separation and divorce. That feeling of not wanting regret made that decision for me.
Okay, got it. So like to some extent you've been used by this and it's gotten you some positive thing. Like, am I understanding you correctly that having met your current wife, I hear that part right? Mm-hmm. You realize like, I'm going to regret not doing something from here. Ergo, I'm going to make this decision so as to choose into the thing that will have less regret attached to it.
Yes.
Got it. So it sounds like kind of a thing. Sounds like the way regret is in your life is like this thing that determines your actions. It's like I'm accumulating it, and my job is to minimize the amount I'm accumulating. It doesn't sound like it reduces over time. It just builds inexorably. And so your job becomes continually make the decision that contributes the least amount of regret to my regret pile.
Yes.
What's there for you?
You nailed me.
Say more. This sounds good.
It's so true. It's so true of my life that regret builds inexorably. Like even telling you about the size of the pile of regret is too big to start.
Thanks for feeling that. What did you get, like, it felt like there was sort of a shift where you really got in touch with something, you got present or felt something there. What was it? You don't have to get too much in the specifics, but can you distinguish it? What was it you let yourself touch?
Something core, something deep. I thought I would play at drinking tea and have a nice superficial conversation about a decision.
That's my bad. What is it are you all right if we keep just
Yes.
getting a little closer to it? Okay, great. And if at any point you're like not comfortable or just can't go further, don't want to go, that's cool too, okay? So all I'm really like, I get that it's core. And if we can just start to distinguish what it is, then we can get our hands around it.
Okay.
And if we can get our hands around it, the uncomfortable thing is we have to be able to feel it. We're going to feel it as we put our hands around it, but we also then can actually have access to it. We can do something with it.
Okay.
So there's something driving up some emotion. It sounded like you got in touch with like just the amount of regret that's present for you, but I'm not sure. So I just want to check in, like when you touched whatever that was, what was it that you felt? What did you let yourself get the experience of that gave you that?
Regret is a feeling of sadness and loss and missed opportunities and lost time, and I think that's how I imagine dying. Is like with so much regret.
Right.
With just, I had so much to do still. I had so many things that I wanted to do, so many people to meet, to be with, and just regret. I imagine that's my death emotion, is regret.
Got it. That felt real. Relatable for me too. I can relate to that. So I want to acknowledge the emotion and continue moving forward with you. So that we can like complete some of this or move into completing on some of this so that it doesn't dictate how things go. But first, I'm going to talk to everyone watching to just connect the dots, okay? You ready if I do that? Yeah, okay, cool. So for everyone watching, where we started was this conversation Ben was in was like, okay, there's a decision in front of me. Help me make the right decision. And usually that's a great indicator for us. When someone's like, I have a decision, help me make the right one. Like, there might be something deeper than just right or wrong decision, pros or cons list. And so that's all I've been exploring with Ben up to this point is like, what has this be the thing showing up for you? And we're really just sort of getting kind of standing shoulder to shoulder together, looking out into the future, like, okay, what's showing up? What has it be this way? Tell me about right and wrong. And ultimately where we've arrived at is that there's a way for Ben that he's learned to show up in his life, which is to avoid regret. And you can imagine that if that became the game of your life, every decision must be filtered through, how do I minimize regret? How do I reduce the amount of regret load that is going to be added into my bag? And there's always going to be some degree of regret. That's part of the trouble with life is there's no regretless decision. There's no decision that has zero consequences. So then the game becomes, Ben, you can't just leave in the middle of this. The game becomes, how do we reduce the amount of regret that is being added to the pile? And every decision has to be filtered through that. I see a possibility for Ben, and now Ben, I'm going to be talking to you. Are you okay? Did you need to leave to? Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like, getting out of here. Yeah, totally. He can just handle this. Okay, so right now it sounds like the story is no matter what, you're going to accumulate regret. So you better minimize that so that you can get to the end with the least amount. And that is the right way to live life, so to speak. Got it.
Yeah.
Heather's really feeling this too. So thanks. Like I want you to, Ben, I want to acknowledge you for being willing to struggle with this because other people are getting the gift of it. You're struggling on their behalf. So please know that it's really, and everyone watching, please look through your world, see yourself in this. If you're just watching Ben over there, like at a distance, then you're missing some of the gift that Ben is providing for you in this moment. Well, let me check in with you, Ben. Like, where do you see to go from here?
I kind of want to get my arms around, as you said, this regret thing, my hands around this thing. I see like it's possible to just say, okay, well, let's make that wrong, and then how else do you want to make a decision? And off you go.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to play coach.
Yeah, you're doing great. And I appreciate that too, because I can fall into that pattern myself where I'm like self-coaching and my coach is like, stop that. Get your hands out of the machinery. So if you were like, what I do want to co-create with you though, rather than just give you practices. So, and I notice you're looking down a lot, and I just want to check in. Is there something like, are you aware of that?
I'm avoiding eye contact because I'm
okay. Yeah, thanks for calling that out.
English people do.
So would you be willing to stay with me? Because there might be something just in letting yourself be seen here, as opposed to like looking down.
Yes, I'm also blinded by the sunlight coming through the window.
Yep. Do you need to do anything to take care of that?
No.
Okay, great. Just it helps. I can't see you, Adam. I just stare into the sun. That's what British people do. Okay. So
don't ask me if I can see the light.
Okay, so you want to get your hands around this kind of regret piece. So like, is there any practice you see, anything you could take on that might contribute to getting like, knowing that getting your hands around something mean you're probably going to feel it more. You're going to like allow it to kind of be alive for you a little bit more. Are there any practices you see you could take on to be in that?
I process by writing, and I could write down all the things that I regret. I could make a huge long list. I could grieve it. I could.
Is your face okay? Are you going to rub it off over there?
I could. I'm being serious.
I know.
I could grieve it. I could learn to be with the regret. I could write out the sunny side of each of the regrets. I could choose to spend more time in the sunny side. Always look in the sunny side, the sunny side, the sunny side.
Come back here to me. Do me a favor and just take a nice deep belly breath. That felt good. Yeah. Maybe even one more, and let your shoulders come back a bit. Nice. You feel a little bit more open in this moment.
Yes.
So there's a way I notice when you start to like kind of put yourself around it or think about it. First of all, that was a great list of practices. If you took on any of those are all amazing practices. Really great at creating practices. Your clients are very lucky for that, and it's awesome. Second, I noticed like a lot of that, as you were describing it, like it felt like you were just collapsing downwards. Like if I had a marionette and I let go of the strings and just clump.
Yep.
So part of what there is to practice is to let yourself be with this without becoming it.
I don't know that I'm very, very well practiced at that. I quite often become the emotion that I'm feeling.
Yeah. It's one of the things we love about you is you got a giant heart, which just means you can sometimes be swept away in the enormity of the emotional content you feel. Yeah. So the first thing I would invite you to do is whatever you choose from those practices, my assertion is that what would be predictable is you'd be like, okay, I'm going to get my arms around it. But then you're not so much as getting your arms around it, you're becoming it. You're like looking through your list and like, oh my God, here's everything I've done wrong and failed. And oh my God, okay, I'm going to look at the bright side. And so instead, sorry, was there something to say?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Cool. I love that. Do that a lot. So instead, my my invitation is you can take on any of those and then practice breathing it. Like allow yourself to breathe deeply into your stomach as you be with it, and like give your nervous system life. So you're holding, like, this will sound a little esoteric, but it's like you're kind of holding Ben. Ben remains present as he bees with the regret, rather than Ben being washed away and completely becoming defined by that regret.
I would love to be able to treat big emotions like that.
Cool. Would you be willing to practice a little bit?
Yeah, I'd be starting from beginner level, because I'm usually washed away by it.
Yeah. And this is like, if you dam a river, it backs up behind it and it floods the lands behind, the headlands, I think they're called, or whatever they're called. So that's kind of where you're at. You've dammed this river trying to avoid making the wrong decision, but every decision is going to carry with it some degree of regret, and that's flooded you. And so what there's to practice is like small. Imagine you're at the gym lifting 2-pound weights.
Yeah.
And for someone who's never ever lifted 2-pound weights, you're going to shake and it's going to feel uncomfortable. And then you're going to look at some muscular guy. I forgot you're here. I'm just describing my experience at the gym now. Some giant dude who's lifting like 50-pound weights. And you're going to be like, I should be able to do that. And then you're going to try to lift 50-pound regret weights and be swept away. And that's all okay. That's part of the practice.
Okay.
I have another practice for you in the interest of time. Normally, if we had more time, I would give you the opportunity to co-create it, but I'm going to offer you one. Is that all right?
Please.
Awesome. Have you ever taken on any practice like completion?
Tell me what you mean by that.
Great. So, well, I'm going to put some stuff on the table first. I'm going to make a few assertions about regret. So the way you hold regret right now is that you're entirely powerless to it. It's all the power of whether or not you regret something or don't is over there with the decision.
Yes.
So you better make the right fucking decision. Otherwise you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
The context that I'm offering you is that you actually have the power to work with your regret, and it's all over here with you. It has nothing to do with that decision. You're the one creating regret. You make up a story about the decision. You look at the world around you and decide, oh, if only I'd made that other decision. If only this, if only that. Can you see that puts the power back into the decision and takes it away from you?
Yeah.
And so from there, your only option is to make the decision that minimizes your regret, right? There's no ability to do anything else other than like resign yourself to living a life filled with regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you doing?
What if there's no link? Yeah. What if it's not to do with decisions? Yeah.
So first of all, this is what every human being does on some level is it's called getting incomplete, which is we hang on to energy about something. So like if we had more time, we could look at what's the benefit for you in hanging on to regret. I'm going to assert that it encourages you not to make the wrong decision, and you were raised blah, 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 so that you tend to make pretty good decisions as a result.
Yeah.
But it's also costing you some things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the practice of getting complete is going to be one of like really intentionally moving through your regret so that you can release it. And predictably, you're going to have some resistance to that.
I don't know what it looks like.
I got that. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a practice around this. I'm just sort of giving you the foundation first.
Thanks. Yep.
So the practice there's 3 parts I have that can really make a difference. 3 parts. The first is expressing like whatever there is to express. So for you, it feels like a lot of sadness, and underneath that, it's possible there's anger there. So pick something for which you have some regret, something small. And then sit down, and you can write a letter. You can allow yourself to like do anger on purpose, or to sit and meditate with it or whatever. But most of us try to resist feeling whatever is associated with this thing. And then consequently, we can never really complete it because we're in resistance to it. So the first part of this is to actually let yourself feel this. This part will probably come easy to you.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
The second part is once you've allowed yourself to express that, and for you, Ben, you might set like, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour at most.
Yeah.
Because you could probably keep building on it and adding to the story.
Yeah.
The second part is to actually practice some responsibility around this. Like, how did I create this experience? Not from how am I wrong? How did I fuck up? How did I make the wrong decision? But like after the decision was made, how can I be responsible for creating the experience of regret?
Without taking blame for it.
So responsibility is different than blame.
Okay.
Yeah. So blame would be like, oh, I wasn't willing to, like, really it's more about who you're being about it.
Okay.
And it's okay. Like for now, maybe your responsibility is going to look a little bit like blame. And that's okay. You're practicing something. This is something we iterate on.
Okay. But being rather than doing, not what did I do wrong, but how did I be?
Well, what you're going to do. So first, remember, you're going to allow yourself to feel, experience, express what is there to feel, experience, or express around this.
Yeah.
Whether you do that in writing, whether you do that, like lock yourself in a room and like tell Shona, like, hey, might seem like a crazy person for an hour. Trust me, I've got this. And then you allow it out. Then you sit down and you take a real honest look, like what can I be responsible for in how this went? So once I made that decision, how did I relate to what happened? What did I tell myself? What did I tell other people? So you're really looking at like, how did I bring this into being? And if you notice it's starting to feel kind of nasty, like, yeah, and I'm such a pussy and I never, or, whatever, now we're probably starting to get into the world of blame, and it might be time to go back to like really expressing what's there, letting the emotions out again.
Okay.
So emotions, experience, feelings. You still hear me? My thing just okay, great.
Yeah.
Second, what can I be responsible for? How did I create this? And then the third thing is to acknowledge yourself and anyone else involved in this particular thing you're looking at.
Okay.
So you can sit there and meditate and be like, okay, I want to acknowledge myself for caring so much that I really I thought this was the best way to honor what I gave up. I want to acknowledge myself for really loving really deeply and not realizing there was a better way. I want to acknowledge myself for really trying my best and thus being so, you get the idea?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything else? Would that support you, Ben?
It would.
Okay, great. Do you see that if you were able to move through life and start to remove regret entirely from being a factor in your decisions, that it would have your decisions go differently?
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it feels like a whole new way of being.
Nice.
Not just decision making.
Would that have an impact on this decision that's in front of you?
It feels like it would. It feels like I don't know what impact until I've done some of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it would.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. So I just want to make sure that you're seeing some possibility in what we're looking at such that it would have an impact on the thing in front of you rather than just be like, yeah, you had that stuff, but we're going to talk about the deep shit over here. That's not my intention, right? My intention is this all links up for you and that you're an active creator of that with me.
Yeah. And I want a shortcut.
Me too. Me too. I have good news for you. No wrong decision. I have bad news too. No right decision. All there is for us to do is to make a choice.
What is this sorcery?
What is this magic you speak of? All there is for us to do is make a choice and then empower the choice.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. That is simple in theory, hard in practice. It's not the way the world seems to be set up for us.
No.
Yeah. So before we wind down and complete this part, is there anything else there for you to share, to say, or to declare, or anything like that to have this conversation be complete?
Thank you for not letting this be about the decision. Thank you for not letting all my head stuff at the beginning, first half, like stop us getting somewhere amazing.
Ben, will you look at me if you're going to talk to me?
I'm looking into the sun when I look at you. Don't hang on to that. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for pushing me to the deeper things. Thank you for breaking it down and explaining it so that I could, so I'm able to do it. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for listening and hearing me and understanding me.
Thank you. I really am touched to receive that. So Ben, I want to acknowledge you to finish up. Great question, Carrie. We'll speak to that. Thank you for not letting this be about solving the thing in the foreground. Because I know, as a man who cares about solving the thing in the foreground of his life, like zero pedestal over here, I know how sticky that stuff is. I find it very sticky where I'm like, but no, coach, like this, if I only this. And it requires a great deal of trust and risk and vulnerability to not to pretend that's not there, but to like actively know it's there and to set it aside for this conversation, especially when this conversation means getting in touch with something that might not feel great. Thanks for actually letting it impact you. Really. Yeah. Be much easier to stay in the theoretical, to talk about this up here, much safer. It would still come off sounding really great. Thanks for that. Thanks for not letting this be really thank you for your courage, Ben, and not letting this be a superficial, fun, playful conversation where we drank tea together, but one where you actually really modeled leadership and coaching and what it requires of us to get down there and really do that work, to really get our hands dirty. And thank you on behalf of everyone watching who is relating to this, because this is not just you. I hope you get that. Like, it's an act of tremendous courage and generosity to be willing to be the one struggling, or, struggling is a context, but like whatever your experience is of being in this conversation, really acknowledge you for the courage and the generosity and the vulnerability and the heart required to be the one to work through this stuff in a lot of ways on behalf of other people. That's modeling leadership, and I honor you for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll just do a bit of debrief, and then I will go and address my bladder screaming at me. But we can hang on for a little bit longer for that. So Carrie, I hope I'm saying your name right, says remove regret, and then emoji like this, the Macaulay Culkin emoticon, as I call it. Remove regret, is that possible? I marinate in regret every single day. I'm curious, Ben, like, do you see any possibility in that in that world? Or does it still, and it's okay either way, but does it still feel like, it feels really sticky and stuck there?
I do, and it feels like rewriting who I be to not, or to live. I think regret may be part of life, but it need not define how I do things.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Yeah, for me, I think, I would often talk about, if you talked to me like 10 years ago, a lot of my conversation was about, I don't want to regret things, and then trying to make decisions from not having things to regret. So I would be like, oh, I'm really trying to cut down the amount I'm drinking because I don't want to be 50 and then regret that I drank that much as a kid, blah, 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 which is it's a really funny way of living life, because it's about living our life so that we don't feel bad, which is very different from living life entirely outside of how we feel, but like living life and making our life about what we're committed to. And you can be committed to not regret, but that's a commitment to not something. And I think it's entirely possible to maybe not to never have regret show up, but to be able to be at cause for it and to take it on in a way that you can move through it. You can actually do something about it and have a really empowered relationship with it. And I find these days, are you still there, Ben? It looks like you've frozen. Oh, you're there, you're back. I find for me these days, regret is a lot like fear, where it's becoming a companion that's there to tell me like, hey, there's an opportunity for you to go a little deeper, Adam. There's something you're probably not willing to feel. There's probably some cleaning up for me to do in the world around me. And that's a much more empowering way to hold it. I want to share with you, Ben. Heather says, thank you, Ben, for your courage to be real. And Carrie says, Ben, you are an everyday superhero, a true role model. Thank you for being you. Thanks. Ben, anything you were present to during that conversation, like any sort of, now that we're a little bit off outside of it, anything where you're like, oh, I really felt like we should have gone here, or I really felt I was surprised that, or I noticed this, or anything like that?
I wasn't expecting to go deep in front of a crowd of tens of millions of people. I was expecting a simpler conversation. Yeah, like you said at the beginning, are we done here?
Really regret that we didn't just say yes to that.
That would have been good. No, I feel like I've been left with some big stuff, which, looking at it on paper, seems a little scary, and certainly something I could avoid doing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I never really know where we're going in these conversations. It's quite scary for me. Like, what makes good coaching is it's often in the face of my particular fear. My particular fear is like, have it controlled, know where we're going, figure it out. And that's the antithesis of coaching and where it can really make a difference. So like, I didn't know we were going to go deep either. I didn't really know where we were going to go. I was just like, well, I guess we're just going to explore this and check it out and see what shows up. And so, thanks for co-creating that with me. That's really cool. Yeah. Anything else that's there that you want to share, point to, speak to?
I was slightly aware of wanting to create a helpful experience for other people.
Will you keep looking at me? Thank you. You can. I noticed that when you look down, you're not in the sun.
I know. This really.
But I noticed when you're looking down, you're not in the sun. So you could even look from a place that's not in the sun.
There's about 3 minutes a year where the sun comes through that window.
Mine does it too.
And I'm also looking down at my notes. What was the question?
Anything else that's there that you want to share? And you were sharing like, oh, there's a part of you present to people watching.
Yeah. So I sometimes when I'm coached, I realize that I'm being really awkward, and I hate that about.
By the way, you're shielding your eyes now and still looking down, just so you know. Yeah. That works.
There's something difficult about looking at you. Don't take that personally. I wanted to create a helpful experience, and I was aware of that, which I'm not. This is the first time I've been coached in public, and that's the thing for me. So I tried to not get derailed by that.
Nice. You would not know based on how that conversation unfolded. Because you and I have a coaching container, I'm going to give you one more practice that's a little outside of this. I'll share with everyone, like, one of the things Ben is doing with us in the Forge, and you've seen Heather commenting. She's also in the Forge with us. You've probably seen a video of me coaching Heather. So one of the things Ben's working on is enrolling people just in the possibility in their lives and creating connection with people. And Ben, given how present I am to you looking down, I would really invite you to be in the practice of noticing that and come back up here with whoever you're talking with. So get really aware of how often you're energetically looking down.
Okay.
So even if you're on the phone, there's a way in which our energy can be looking down, not connecting with the person. So wherever you are, whoever you're talking to, even if it's emailing them, make sure you're looking in their eyes energetically. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to look down to write that, but
I will allow it. Yeah. Cool. Heather, thank you. I'm going to read what Heather wrote, 'cause it feels good. Adam, thank you for your gift to us as well. Your ability to get to heart is amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And want to share that 10 years ago, never in a million years would I have ever thought that would be the acknowledgement someone would provide me. And I want to share how cool it is to be on this side of it, and that's part of what I'm known for. And transformation works. It's possible. All of this is available to us, and all there really is for us to be in the conversation with one another. So thank you, Ben, for being in the conversation and creating a clearing for everyone else to have gotten what they got. Thank you, everyone that came and hung out with us and shared. I want to acknowledge specifically Heather. Heather, I really want to acknowledge you for how generous you are in sharing. Colin, who else do we have? And Carrie today. Thank you very much, the three of you, for your comments and for participating and sharing with us. And thank you, everyone that just came and hung out and watched and got something for yourself. Oh, and Tracy just wrote something beautiful that I'm going to read, Ben. Tracy Griffith says, Ben, your vulnerability, hold on, little frog. Ben, your vulnerability is awe-inspiring. Got that?
Thank you.
And thank you, Adam, for your amazing articulation and inspiration of how I can bring more parts of myself into my coaching, the practice of completion. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much for sharing that. You guys writing comments can never know what a difference it makes for me. And I'm going to speak on Ben's behalf for Ben as well to hear that. We just don't get to see that. And Ben, what's really cool is there's a vulnerability in connecting with someone through their eyes. And I hope you can hear in these comments, it's really all there is for you to do. Is just show up and be with people, connect with them, let them see your vulnerability. It's amazing. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this week. We will see you next Friday. For now, that's it from Ben and I. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, guys. And then I have to